shooting a gap. No help with Kyle Busch.
Oh, Suarez right alongside him. 3 wide. Off turn 4. Here they come to the flag.
This is the car, this is the track, and this is me catching a rock while I was fishing. So hopping straight into qualifying here at Suzuka, going into the hairpin. All I need to say is they need to up their security in the grandstands because somebody brought a sniper and shot out my front left tire, causing me to get a flat, spinning me out. Completely not my fault. So my first lap is invalidated. Going on to lap number 2, going straight into Spoon. And again, they need to up their security because somebody brought a laser and shined it straight into my eyes, causing me to get another off track. Completely not my fault. I blame security 100%. I am definitely going to complain to race control about this. We need to get new security at Suzuka. So anyway, starting on the grid in P13, and we have Will behind us in P14. And if you don't know who Will is, he is a fast motherfucker, but he makes a lot of mistakes, and I'll talk more about that later. Anyway, starting off the grid in P13, getting a pretty decent launch actually. But Will gets a better launch than us somehow. He got a really, really good launch. Getting blocked by P12 and ahead of him, and it looks like we're going to go 4 wide into turn 1. But the guy in front of me just cuts it completely off. I know he didn't mean to hit me, but he just completely cut me off, and I rear-ended him. I think they gave me a 4X as well. Anyway, hopping on board with Will, fighting for P11, and the 2 people ahead of him literally just crash out and go into the barrier, and that promotes him 2 positions up into P9. And then looking ahead of him, we have a guy in a Golf livery going into turn number 7, and Will is just going to full send it down the inside, completely push him off the track, send him wide, basically almost into the dirt. That guy's going to lose a bunch of speed, and Will is all the way up into I think P9, just off of the start, off of the first like 8 corners. That's what I'm talking about. Will is a fast motherfucker, but probably too fast for his own good, because I mean he's only 3.5k iRating, but he could easily be 6k if he just got his shit together and locked in and stopped crashing, because he always sends it into any corner that he is going, that he can. Basically any opportunity he gets, he sends it, and it's the most risky shit ever. Anyway, going into Spoon, we get in this guy's mirrors, and he just completely goes wide. We kind of mind punt him, and that puts us right behind this guy in the Golf livery that Will pushed off the track earlier, and he misses the apex, so that gives us an amazing run going down the straight into 130R. He's going to defend the inside, and I was honestly contemplating going around the outside here just because we're so far back in the grid. I could potentially get this overtake done in 130R. I decided not to do it. He's defending the chicane, so we're going to go around the outside. We're going to try to stick it around the outside through the whole chicane, and it works. I mean, it looked almost too easy, but you have to remember we are pretty far back in the grid, and this isn't the highest SOF, so a lot of these guys are not as experienced as me or Will. Lap number 2, though, going into turn number 7, and we are up into P9. Will is up into P6 already. Like I said before, he's insanely fast. So I mean, it's no surprise that he is that far up in the grid already. I mean, on lap number 2, he went from P14 to P6 already. Going into the hairpin, this guy completely messes up his exit. So we're going to go down the inside of the exit of the hairpin, down the outside of these next couple corners. But he's just going to give up the position. Thank you, Vivek. But now we're promoted into P8, heading towards Spoon, and we are slowly but surely catching Will. I mean, with his pace and with how aggressively he's overtaking people, I didn't know if I was ever going to catch up to him. Going through the exit of Spoon, completely messing up our exit, but we're hopping on board with Will, and he is in a pretty big pack, sitting behind the guy in the Dirk Shootin' livery, going through 130R, and he gets a much better run through the mid-corner. Going up to the chicane, I would be surprised if Will didn't go for this move. So, of course, he goes for the move, sends it down the inside of the chicane, makes contact with Dirk Shootin', and Dirk Shootin' gives him some netcode on the exit. So they are side by side through the exit of the chicane. They're going to be side by side for the whole pit straight. Going on to lap number 3, I mean, and he's losing speed to him. I don't know how he's losing speed to him on the straight. That's kind of weird. I guess it's from the slipstream up ahead. But Will's going to send it into turn 1, braking a little bit later than him. And I mean, he gets another move done. Will is promoted into P5 now. We're still in P8, exiting turn 2 with car number 8, P7 ahead of us. So we're going to try to get P7 this lap, hopefully, so we can catch Will a little bit more. But 3 laps into this race, we're already in P8 from P13, and Will is already in P5 from P14. So far doing pretty well. Going into turn number 6, this guy goes completely wide at the apex. Just doesn't even fight it, gives us the position, completely gets off throttle, lets us through. So promoted into P7 now. Only one car separates me and Will, and it is Dirk shooting. So it's time to focus ahead, bang in a lap or two, and just try to catch Dirk and overtake him so we can get right behind Will. And going into turn number 9, I completely go off track. I mean, I'm basically not even caring about my incidents at this point. I had a decently low amount, and I was basically just worried about pure pace, just trying to get as far up the grid as I possibly could really early on, so I could minimize the iRating damage from my terrible quality. That completely was not my fault, by the way. Suzuka still needs to up their security. Going into lap number 4, hopping on board with Will. The 2 cars ahead of him are in a pretty intense battle for position. It looks like he's going to try to sneak up the inside of turn 2, but doesn't quite do it, doesn't quite pull it off. And then in turn number 3, he's also peeking up the inside again, and all of this is losing him time, and Will is just catching him every single corner. And I mean, this can't be good for him, because having William Rasmussen behind you is not only the scariest shit ever, but it is also, I mean, you're guaranteed. He's like Max Verstappen. If he's in your mirrors, it's not a matter of if he's going to overtake you. It's a matter of when. And I mean, these guys don't know it yet, but Will is going to overtake them eventually. So I mean, they're caught up in their own battle. This guy ahead of him, car number 9, is trying to get the position from the guy ahead of him in the orange car. But I mean, Will is going to separate them. Will is going to do something about this. So going into the hairpin, this guy, I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was a defense or if that was a mistake, but he completely goes to the inside of the hairpin, completely sacrifices his exit speed, and Will could have made a move there, but I think he was just too close to turn around the outside of him going on the exit of the hairpin, so he just had to let off the throttle, make sure he didn't rear end him, give himself a 4X. But going into Spoon, Will's going to peek up the inside, make a mistake, carry too much speed, get a little too greedy, and he is right back behind Dirk shooting, which means he is right in front of us, going towards 130R on the long straight, hopping back on board with us. There's Will, there's Dirk shooting, going towards 130R. This is going to be dangerous. Will is going to get greedy, and something is going to happen here. Going into 130R, hopping on board with the gyro cam on my car. They're 2x2 ahead of us. The cars ahead of Will and Dirk are 2x2. Will is 2x2, going 3 wide into the chicane. And I mean, how does nobody die there? Will gets through past 2 cars at once. We're about to go side by side with car number 9. Follow Will through. We have the slipstream going on to lap number 5. And I mean, we're just going to pull forward in front of this guy. I don't know. We might be able to get in front of him before turn 1. And we do. Going into turn 1, we are completely ahead of him, like a car length ahead of him. And we could just settle back in. We're right behind Will, right where we want to be. And I mean, that was just insane. 3 wide into the chicane. And I mean, I don't know how nobody died going 3 wide into the chicane. That is one of the tightest chicanes on the P-Cup calendar. And nobody died going 3 wide through there. We were 2x2 going through 130R and then 3 wide into the chicane. And everybody kept it clean. There was I don't think there was any contact. Anyway, hopping on board with Will, going towards turn number 8. He has a massive run on this guy, and he's just going to send it down the inside. Just complete disregard for anything. Just get really greedy, and I mean, I was in a VC with him, and he literally, what he said word for word was, "I am going to send it," and this is what it looked like from my POV. He definitely sent it on that guy. But I mean, that's what happens when you get too greedy. I mean, he made up so many positions in this race, and with the type of driver Will is, he always wants more. Like, he is a fast motherfucker, but he never settles, and he sometimes, we always tell him, just settle down, dial it down, and trust me, you will get results. Like, you can be a 6K driver, but that's just the type of person he is. He never wants to settle, and it always bites him in the ass. So, I mean, that's going to send him back down a couple positions. A lot of hard work that he did was just completely lost because of a pretty greedy move. Anyway, hopping on board with us, lap number 8, we have Dirk shooting behind us, and we're in 3rd place. He's in 4th. This whole time, for these past couple laps, we've just been running our line, trying to run away from this guy. But we get a tire in the dirt on the outside, and it just completely sends us back into the dirt. And Dirk shooting has a massive, massive run on us into turn number 8. But he just backs out. A very smart move by him because, I mean, that probably could have ended really badly. That corner is not a corner, as we saw in the on lap number 5. That is not a corner that you go too wide through. So he backed out, being the car on the outside, and we stay in 3rd place for now. But he gets a pretty good run on us out of the chicane, and we are in a pretty dangerous position still. It's not really over. Heading towards Spoon, we have a 10-second gap to P2 ahead of us. So, I mean, it is literally going to be a battle for 3rd place. Just defending for my life for the rest of this race, trying to hold my position. He gets a pretty good run on the entry of the 2nd corner in Spoon, and I mean we get a late apex, which gives us a massive run onto the straight, which is great to help us defend against him going into 130R. Anyway, hopping on board with Will, the orange car ahead of him gets a pretty bad exit out of Spoon, giving him a massive run down the straight. He's gonna send it down the inside of 130R, and I mean, normally this would be a very risky situation, but the guy backs out going into 130R, and Will gets the position back. So he is making up a couple positions after his crash. Anyway, heading on to lap number 9 now on the long straight, heading towards 130R. Will is right on the ass of car number 8, looking to make up a couple more positions before the end of the race after he lost them after that crash. So going into 130R, he gets a pretty good exit using the grass to open it up all the way, and using all of that exit to carry as much speed as possible, braking a lot later than this guy ahead of him. But the guy ahead of him still locks up, still almost spins out mid-corner, gets a slowdown through the chicane, and Will's just going to go down the inside of car number 8, onto the straight, onto the pit straight. He's making up a couple positions now after losing a lot of them to the crash earlier. Up into P7 now. Going on to the final lap, hopping on board with us, going into the chicane. I mean, the rest of the race was pretty uneventful. We held our place against Dirk Shooten. He actually lost a position to Raphael behind us in P4. But yeah, we're going to cross the line in P3, which was actually, I mean, it was a pretty good race. Starting P13, going all the way P3, pretty happy about that. But the race isn't over yet because we're hopping on board with Will, going into the chicane, and it may look like he's not fighting with anyone, but he is fighting with himself. Going into the last corner, he literally just...
All around me are familiar faces, worn out.
He just spins it, going out of the chicane, going onto the last corner, which gives him enough incident points for a drive-through. And if that wasn't enough, crossing the line and then spinning out, not P7, but P12. So starting the race in P14, making his way all the way up into like P5 or something, and then dropping all the way down to P12 again. But anyway, our results were pretty decent, gaining 13 iRating and a pretty low SOF. Again, losing safety rating. This track has not been good to my safety rating. But yeah, that's us in P3. Pretty good result. I'm pretty happy with that, starting in P13. So yeah, you should subscribe.